Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of our Estrella Virtual Visit Series. I'm Christina Dooley, and I am the founder of Estrella Consulting. And I'm very excited because our guest today, Amber Featherstone from Minerva University, is here to share more about Minerva, which is actually a university that I feel like I myself personally have minimal familiarity with. So I'm excited. I always love learning more about opportunities and places where we can start to refer our students to. And so without further ado, I will let you take it from here. Amber, why don't you share a little bit about Minerva?
Thank you so much, Christina. I'm going to move through some slides really quickly just to give everyone a really good overview of Minerva and then hopefully leave us with just a few minutes for any questions you think the audience may have. So Minerva University was founded on the idea that today's traditional higher education model is just not adequately training students to meet the needs of our changing world. And so as such, this mission was formed where we are aiming to develop problem solvers, entrepreneurs, and wise leaders from around the world, and then to weave them together as one community to hopefully address some of the largest challenges that are facing our world today. So we were founded in 2014, and then most recently in the last 3 years, Minerva University has been awarded the #1 spot on the World University Rankings for Innovation list. We call it WORI. In 2024, we were also ranked #1 for social responsibility and generative AI application and funding categories. So what makes us so innovative is usually the next question that comes up. And what it is that Minerva has designed a full undergraduate experience that combines these 4 core principles. So practical knowledge, active learning, global immersion, and project-based learning. Under practical knowledge, the idea is that our degree, first of all, has a set of courses called the Cornerstone courses that are done in the first year. So in the first year at Minerva, all students take the same courses, and these courses are multidisciplinary, and they teach foundational concepts and habits of mind that are reinforced all 4 years of study at Minerva. And so with each course, specific educational goals are identified with enough precision to really be taught through examples and exercises. And content for these courses is based upon a set of highly complex, big questions that really demand multidisciplinary understanding and discussion. On the screen here, you'll see basically all of our majors and concentrations under which our students can study while they're at Minerva University. And then we also have a set of minors that students can tack on. Students can also double major at Minerva. I do want to draw your attention to the right-hand side, our interdisciplinary minors. So these are minors that a student can tack on to any major. So you could be a computer science major with a minor in sustainability. And that's because the way we've designed these courses and the topics that they focus on, we really feel are relevant to any student, no matter what they're studying or what their ultimate career goal may be. So Minerva does do very active and engaged learning. So every class at Minerva is a small dialogue-based seminar. We do not do lectures at Minerva, so students do have to do pre-work so that they come to the classes ready to learn. Classes are in an online format. It's in a system that we designed specifically called Forum. And so if you're imagining Zoom in your head right now, take that out. It does not look at anything like Zoom. At Minerva, students have to be on camera. Again, they have to be prepared for class. And our provost likes to say that every student at Minerva is in the front row in every class. And the classes are small. They only have about 20 students in each class. And that technology really is just a conduit for how we operate our university. So the knowledge developed in those classes is then immediately applied in culturally immersive research and project-based opportunities around the world. And so the other very unique and innovative thing about Minerva University is that we don't stay place for very long. So we are based in San Francisco. We're a nonprofit accredited U.S. university there, but our students actually move around the world throughout their 4 years through a rotation model that we've designed. So essentially, students spend 1 year in San Francisco, and then they move as a cohort to various cities that you see here for either one semester or 1 year. So again, with the classes being online, the students can be anywhere. All of our professors hail from really fantastic backgrounds here, mostly in the United States and Canada, and most of them are still based here. So again, the technology allows our students to continue traveling and be in these really dynamic locations without, having to move the entire university with them as they go. And then currently over 100 countries are represented in the Minerva student body. And a key aspect of our program is really that it's not only that the students are traveling the world for 4 years, but they're doing it with an incredibly diverse group of students as well. So hopefully that, having those diverse perspectives brought into those classroom discussions and those projects that they're doing on the ground to really give them a global understanding. And so we combine that global immersion with that project-based learning. And you can see here that the idea is that our students are exposed, engaged, immersed, and that then they can really provide an impact to the world through this unique model that we've built. We do a lot on the ground. So again, back to this project-based learning ideas, in addition to the classes that students have, we have a set of a few things that we think are really important. Civic projects are where students can actually intern with local organizations in those rotation cities to work on a real problem that organization has. And it's aligned to the student's major or to their areas of focus. Location-based assignments are things that every single class at Minerva has. So it's at least one assignment in a course where it forces you out into the city in which you're living to interact with people, to get to understand the culture or the challenges or the resources that place is struggling with. And so that really does encourage our students out into those places to be more than just tourists. We do a lot with local organizations in our cities and also back in the United States to provide internships for students. So these can be during the semesters or also during the summer. And then we have something called labs, where our students are working in different locations, typically outside of our rotation model during the summer. So most recently, we've created a sustainability lab in partnership with Earth University in Costa Rica. We have had an artificial intelligence lab in partnership with the Masasan Foundation in Tokyo for quite a few years. And then we also have a music health and wellness lab that's in partnership with Dolby Sound Studios in San Francisco. So again, Minerva's looking to grow and expand these projects to give our students even more opportunities to get hands-on experience during their summers as part of this full global model. At Minerva, career development does start on day one. So through our coaching and talent development office, our students are given a career mentor that ideally stays with them all 4 years. So they start working with them from the beginning on, the basic things that most colleges offer, coaching, resume services, things like that. But they work with those students as they start then to identify their path forward. When they choose their major, they get academic and faculty advisors that start working with them. And all of those folks are really coming together to help our students narrow down exactly where they want to be at the end of the 4 years, and to really give them the clearest path to that goal. And it's working from what we can see. So 91% of our graduates are pursuing their careers of interest or enrolled in a higher education, so master's or PhD program in their area of interest at the 6-month mark after graduation. So the outcomes are really strong. A couple of other things to point out on this slide: 97% of our students hold an internship prior to graduating. So I mentioned we've got those summer internships, but we also have a lot of connections around the world that help pair our students with organizations that are very much aligned with what they want to be doing. So the model, again, is really focused on the individual student and getting them to where they need to be. And I'll just go through these very quickly. These are just some examples, and you can find this on our website of some of our alumni and what they've been doing. And you can even see here the Econverse group, they're current students still. So the Minerva model gives our students the flexibility to continue to pursue their passions even while they're studying. And then just a few more of our alumni that have been awarded some big awards: Rhodes Scholarship, the Diane Award, and then one of our current students has just been named as a fellow to the Royal Astronomical Society. And then this slide just shows an example of employers that our alumni have gone to over the years, and also some of the graduate and professional schools that they have gone on to study at after Minerva. Just a few more awards. So let's talk about admissions at Minerva. A big question we always get is like, who's a good fit for Minerva? What's Minerva looking for? What type of student comes? And I can honestly say that our student body is insanely diverse, just in terms of where they're from, also what they're interested in. But there are a few things that sort of tie them together. They're intellectually curious. All of our students are very driven. And I think they're really inspired by understanding the world and the challenges and trying to make it a better place. So the admissions process at Minerva has 3 parts. We have an online application on our website. It is free to apply. You can also apply through the Common App. With Common App, only part 1 of our application is covered. So if you go to continue your application, you end up on our website either way. Part 1's really simple. It's just the basic application form: who you are, where you went to high school, just that biographical information. Part 2 is where we start becoming unique again. So part 2 is a series of challenges. So you can think about these as timed math quiz, or a logic puzzle, or reading comprehension activity. And these are really meant to help us understand how a student thinks, and also to understand whether they can be successful under Minerva's curriculum model. And then the third part, instead of an essay, we have what we call our accomplishments section. And this is where students have the opportunity to list up to 6 things that they have done that they're proud of. So this is everything from school organizations that they've been a part of, to volunteer activities, sports, music. I mean, the categories are pretty endless. So it's really just for the student to be able to show us where they've spent their time, where their passions lie, and for us to just better understand them. On the screen here, you will see the fall admissions calendar. So right now we're in our early action period with a deadline of November 1st. Our early action does have the option to be binding, but it's not required. So students who just apply regular early action will get their admissions notification by mid-December, and then they don't need to enroll until May. And then we have 2 other regular cycles that we follow throughout the winter and spring. So on the screen here is our estimated tuition and housing and fees costs for the 25-26 academic year. So you can see right now that all in is close to $50,000 per year. And that does include, the majority of the costs associated with living in the cities as well. And the tuition and housing fees don't change as the students move. So whatever the rate is for the year at the university, it's the same whether you're in your first year in San Francisco or in your 3rd year in Berlin, for example.
Can I ask a quick question, Amber?
Yeah.
About the housing. Where are students housed when they're in all these locations?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have residence halls in every city, and we have Minerva staff on the ground in every city. In San Francisco, we also have an office building. But in each city that the students go to, there's a residence where they all live together, and that sort of becomes the hub of the Minerva universe there.
Hmm.
And then those housing costs are what's covering that throughout the world.
Okay. And this does not, I'm making the assumption, this also does not include travel fees. So that's
It
another,
does not. No. So
okay.
travel fees are an additional thing that students must cover. So the
Okay.
flights and things like
Yep.
that. Minerva does a really good job of notifying students at least 1 year in advance of where they will be next, so
Okay.
that they can monitor flights, make sure they're getting the best prices and all of that.
So that's interesting too, that they don't know where they'll be when they
So
enroll
our
necessarily, which is kind of interesting. Like a,
Yeah, so
yeah.
the rotation model has to remain a little bit flexible, primarily just
Hmm.
because we have to be nimble to geopolitical issues. You know, the
Sure.
pandemic was a great example where certain countries were closed to
Hmm.
outsiders longer and things like that. So we've resisted the urge to sort of say, okay, in your second year you'll be here, and your third year you'll be here, just because we know that things can shift, and we don't want to give students unrealistic expectations. But again, they do try to do it at least 1, if not 2 years out, so that the students are kind of aware of the general plan.
Got it.
And Minerva does provide financial aid for all students. So US and international students alike are eligible for the parts of our financial aid offers. Our financial aid is all need-based. So at this time, we don't do merit-based scholarship. So it is based on what the family's income is and what Minerva feels that they can pay. But on the screen here, you'll see sort of the general requirements for applying for financial aid. And it's important to note that financial aid is tied to the application cycle in which the student is applying. So if you're applying in early action, you have a financial aid deadline that's tied to that. So just important for students who are applying, if financial aid is important to them, they need to make sure that they're keeping up with those deadlines as well. And that is a very brief overview. On the screen here, you'll see a QR code where you can sign up on our website to just get more information. My email is listed here. I'm the Assistant Dean of Enrollment. Myself and my team are happy to help any student who just has more questions. Because we're small, we're able to really put students in touch with whomever they'd like to speak with, whether it be a current student or an alum or even a professor. And my team is based around the world. So I'm sure we've got someone close on any student's time zone that may just want to have a chat or get more information.
That's great. Thank you. I do have a couple other questions just based on some
Great.
of the things that you said, primarily around, you mentioned in terms of the right kind of student and who should be applying. I'm curious in terms of the academic pieces of the right kind of student. Are you looking for specific things? You didn't mention test scores, for example. Is that a requirement? What kinds
Yeah,
of, I assume because you're not offering merit scholarships also that the students are just probably all pretty exceptional that it maybe are applying?
they are, yeah. So we don't have any sort of set GPA limits. We don't require any tests. So we don't require
Okay.
SAT or ACT. We also don't require TOEFL or IELTS for
Okay.
international students. So again, our application process is set up in a way that we feel like we can get all the information we need from the students through that
Yeah.
instead of through those external tests. On our application, you can provide those scores if you'd like to. That's new
Hmm.
to us this year. So I've been very clear with students, it does not help or hurt you. It's more that we're just gathering some data on our end.
Yeah.
But if, a student feels very strongly in their scores, they can list them, and that's no problem. We are working with students that are pretty academically strong. The
Hmm.
Minerva model, again, without having lectures, it really puts the onus on the student to
Right.
do that pre-work, to really dig into topics to understand them, and then they get to class to really work with them. So, and all of our students go through an adjustment period in the first semester where they're figuring out how to manage their time and how to prepare for classes properly. We do have a 4-day class week. So classes are
Mm.
only Monday through Thursday. So students have that longer weekend also to help them prepare. But no GPA minimums or maximums either. Our students come from all over the world. So that becomes really tricky when you're looking at GPAs from different countries. So again, we're looking at just their overall academic performance, how they did in their high school compared to their classmates. And we also put a lot of emphasis on those accomplishments and the things that they've spent their time on and what those look like.
Got it. Another question I have is about because, and this is such a unique model that you have, and I can absolutely, I feel like it's the kind of model that when the right student is in front of me, I will know it, that I will know that this is
Yes,
the kind of place that they should really be considering because I know it. I think there's also probably a sense of maturity that has to be involved in terms of the kids
exactly.
being ready for this. Because of the model of the location movement, can you tell me, are there any opportunities for extracurriculars? Are there ever things that the students are doing outside of the academic part of
Yeah,
this?
I guess I focused on the serious stuff and not the fun
That's
stuff in my
okay.
presentation.
That's all
So no,
right.
absolutely. So again, we have staff on the ground in every city, student life teams. They spend a lot of time planning events for students that are really about exploring those cities. So not only are they culturally, interactive or informational, but they're also fun. So, sometimes they are just doing city exploration days. Sometimes they're doing a cooking class of a local cuisine. Sometimes they're having meals in locals' homes to get to know the people there better. Then the students also have a lot of student-led organizations. So similar to what you would see at any university, student groups that play sports or student groups that are part of the governance, right? We have an Associated Students of Minerva where each class has representatives that work with the university administration. One thing that's really great about Minervans is that they are very passionate about a lot of different things. And so students who kind of have those unique interests, they tend to find others in their class
Hmm.
that also share those interests. And they sort of combine forces to continue to pursue those. Over the years, students who have gone to the various cities, they leave notes and recommendations to the next group of students that will be coming. So I always tell students you don't have to start from scratch. And, if you want to find a place where you can play the piano because you're a musician, right? There's notes on that. If you're looking for intramural sports within the cities, there's information on that. We don't have things though like sororities and fraternities. We clearly don't have, sports teams that students can, be actively participating in with the university. But there's still ways for students to get at those things, those extracurricular activities that are important to them, because these are all very large, dynamic cities with
Right.
everything to offer.
Right. I love the idea of the students leaving behind the recommendation.
Yeah,
Reminds me of when you do an Airbnb or a Verbo
right.
and people
Somebody
leave
left
there.
a note,
Here's
right?
some must-see places that the little gems that you may not know just by coming here.
Yeah.
Um, so are there any things when you're reviewing an applicant, would there be anything like very obvious, um, not red flags, but reasons why you'd say a student should not be considering Minerva, or why you would not consider them as a candidate?
Yeah, I mean, I think you hit on it a minute ago. I mean, our students do have to have a certain level of maturity. They have to be sort of ready to take this leap with us and to travel the world. Our biggest thing is they have to be globally minded. You don't have to know everything about the world. You don't have to know everything about every culture, but at Minerva in your first year, you do not get to choose your roommates. And so they will be people that are not from your country or probably even your region
Mm-hmm.
of the world, right? They all live in these residence halls together. And, to give you an example, our incoming class has over 45 countries represented, and they're all living
Wow.
together and they all have different, cultures and backgrounds and ways of doing things. And so a big piece of this is that our students are open to that they understand that even if there's another culture that historically their own culture is supposed to be sort of against or not
Mm-hmm.
in line
Yeah.
with, that they have to be willing to have those conversations and to really hear these other perspectives. We don't really see a lot of that in the application. I think students sort of self-select when they apply to Minerva. They look
Mm-hmm.
into it. There is a lot of information on YouTube that is student-led content that's not sanctioned by Minerva, which I think is a good thing. And it's where students really have made videos to talk talk about their experiences, to show their
Hmm.
experiences, the good and the bad, right? Because it
Sure.
can be tough too to do this moving around and to not be in one place all 4 years. And then also our Instagram account, I think, which is led by Minerva, does a great job of showcasing that as well. So I think students just need to do their homework, right? This is not your
Hmm.
typical US university. And like you said, I think for some, it's the perfect fit, but it's not the perfect fit for all. And that's
Right.
really okay.
Yeah, I think that's well, and then selfishly, I'm thinking, oh gosh, can I enroll? Like,
I
yeah,
ask that
I
all the
think
time.
I feel like a lot of parents will watch this and say, "Oh my gosh, I wish this was an
I know.
opportunity," and maybe, as an adult, you realize just how amazing that experience is to be able to have all of these different cultural immersions on the ground. I think it's incredible, and I could see why your outcomes are the way they are in terms of the different graduate schools and also industries where the students are working and the awards that they've
Right.
been receiving. It makes a lot of sense
Yeah.
because that global piece is so important. Well, this has been so interesting for me. And again, other than now, my wish that this had been in existence long ago when I was
I know.
in college. But I really appreciate you taking the time. And for those people watching, like Amber said, if there are questions that you have, you want to connect, please do so. Please learn more, do a deep dive, because it is, again, a very different kind of university experience, but I think, a really incredible one for the right student. So if you're interested, check it out, reach out. And Amber, thank you so much for taking the time. We really appreciate it, and all the great information that you shared. Really exciting stuff.
No, thank you so much, Christina. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.
Thank you. You too. Bye.